Good evening, everyone. My name is Calvin Brown. I was born and raised here in the city of Bristol, just like everybody else up on the stage. I am your city councilor from this end of town, and I've been proud and honored to serve you for 2 years on the city council, my hometown, our hometown. I ran 2 years ago because I wanted to be a voice for all people, but I wanted to bring the perspective of that young generation that we need to keep in this city so that we can grow our tax base, so that we can have new young families in town that can grow with the city and support the rest of the community. I am not a homeowner yet, but I can tell you that I have lived with my mother and my family here in this city. We have to work together to make ends meet. We don't have anything handed to us, just like you. And that's the type of attitude I try to bring to the city when I work for you, and that's what's going to guide me over the next 2 years. Thank you.
Candidates, question 8. Bristol has suffered in recent years from negative partisanship, polarization, and animosity between differing political parties, individuals, and groups. This has contributed to our lack of population growth, declining property values, and lack of progress in key areas. If elected, what would you do to improve on this climate?
I think my friend Mr. D'Amato hits the nail right on the head. It's not really a matter of partisanship plaguing the city right now. It's a bit of a lack of focus sometimes. We have so many people in the community that are so involved in so many different projects, trying to get organized and make things happen on their own. And when you go to the polls in November, you have to elect people that are going to listen to you and that are going to work with you to really move those projects ahead. And the question of leadership in this city has been struggling for the past few years. In order to make good policy, in order to have a strong community, you need to have a leader at the top that's willing to encourage open and honest discussion. You need a leader at the top that's willing to engage all input and handle it like an adult when there is dissenting opinion. And that's missing sometimes in city government. And that's going to be something that you'll have to think about when you go to the polls in November. Think about who really represents you, number one. Number two, think about who's willing to do the hard work and to listen to you and your voice. And number three, you've got to think about what is the tone right now at City Hall? And is that what you want for another 2 years as we are at a critical point in our community development? Who do you want out there greeting new businesses? Who do you want out there encouraging new young families to come and live here? Focus on the positive and be willing to hear dissenting opinions. But most of all, be willing to have an opinion and be willing to share it. But you know, let me tell you something about my friend from the 1st District, Mr. Carlson. I serve on the ordinance committee with him, and many of you probably remember the feral cat ordinance that was passed. That's something that Mr. Carlson is on the record saying that he doesn't personally think needed to be on the books, but you know what? He did the right thing, and he let process play out. He was the chair of the ordinance committee. He never tried to shut down discussion. He never tried to hide the issue. He let it play out, and he put his opinion out on the record. And that's the way it should be. Mr. D'Amato issued a press release where he laid out his idea of what's appropriate for Memorial Boulevard School. Those of you that know me know that I don't hold the same position, but it took courage of Mr. D'Amato to get out there and share his opinion with everybody. That's the way it should be. But let me tell you a couple instances where that didn't happen. Energy manager, no discussion, killed before it could get to the floor. An ordinance supporting those 53 women who deserve our support, killed, no discussion. That's not leadership. It's not partisanship. It's not right.
Over the past several years, the level of public sector benefits and salaries has risen above the rate of inflation and above the rate of private sector benefits and salaries. Some fear these increases are unsustainable for future generations to pay for. Even the Obama administration proposed a Cadillac tax on states and municipalities who offer extensive healthcare benefits to public employees. Do you believe Bristol's public sector benefits and salaries are sustainable? How concerned are you that Bristol's medical benefit obligations are not fully funded?
Well, yeah, I think the thing that we need to remember when we talk about these issues is keep in mind who we want working for the city of Bristol. What types of people do we want out there paving and plowing our roads, out there patrolling the streets in the police department and putting out fires with the fire department and educating our kids in the schools or feeding our kids in the schools? The way we treat them matters. And that's why it is important to have a competitive and very good benefits package for the people that work for the city. It is what you would need to do if you wanted to succeed in private enterprise and have the strongest workforce. So it's what the city needs to do as well. If you want to talk about negotiating with the unions to identify cost-saving measures, let's be honest. You need to have a positive working relationship with those people. That means you can't just sit down with them when it's time to negotiate. You need to treat them right every day of the week, in every department, and every scenario, every time you see them. That's where it starts. That's how you build the partnership between your elected officials and your management officials and the people that are out there crusading for this city, making this city what it is, building it from the ground up and keeping it clean. They are our neighbors. They are our friends. They provide a service to us, and we need to respect them and their service. And then, when times get tough, just like every time before, we can sit down with the union and we can figure out how we can make it out so everybody is all right. Fortunately, that's not what happened with the cafeteria workers. The labor court's already ruled that the Board of Ed negotiated in bad faith, and that's not leadership, and that's not leading to cost savings. Now is it? Well, where do I begin? The first thing I'll say is, if you want to talk about a way to realize some cost savings, but still provide quality benefits, then we need to roll over that health insurance package for the city employees into the state pool. It's going to save money. It's what the workers want, but it's not what the leaders at City Hall will hear. It's just common sense, but sometimes that's missing from leadership, and that is the problem. That's the crux of the problem, ladies and gentlemen. You need to be a willing partner. Otherwise, the unions are going to be spinning their wheels. They're not going to be able to give anything back because they're not going to be hearing anything from the other side. Think about how you would do it in your own home, ladies and gentlemen. Think about the way that you have to work with your spouse or with your whoever it is that you might be living with. Think about what you have to do to make ends meet and how much cooperation there needs to be. We need it at City Hall. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and I want to thank my colleagues for being up here to debate. It's been an extraordinary privilege serving these last 2 years, and I'll tell you why. I was 21 years old when I got elected to the City Council. I was a young guy. I had some ideas, but I needed to learn a lot, and I had two great role models to support me throughout that time. Mrs. Fortier, sitting out in the audience. Mary sits next to me on the council. You guys see us every month at the council meeting. She has been there every time I've needed her to go over issues with me, to treat me with dignity and respect. Councilwoman Ellen Zappo-Sasso, who is in the audience tonight, is a role model for anybody that wants to know what process is and how to move an item forward for the city of Bristol. You can take away all the specifics of every issue. Just talk about who's got the vision and who's got the knowledge. And I've been able to see that for 2 years with those two women. And I've gotten to know Rippy Patton and Dave Perleski and Bob Passamano these past 4 months. And I get to sit up here tonight in front of all of you with Myra Barrios Sampson, who's one of the first people I ever reached out to when I wanted to get involved in city politics. We got a great team that's got a vision for this city, And when you go to the polls on November 3rd, I'm going to ask you to please think about what really matters. Think about your property values, not just taxes. That's only one little piece of the issue. Think about your property values. Think about how we can work together to raise those up and have more in the city for everybody from all walks of life, and you'll know who to vote for.